You're live.
We are live. All right. So it's Front Porch Live with a special guest. I am so stoked. We've been talking about this for months. Mark Meckler with us.
Good to be here. I like on your front porch for real.
No
it's pretty
kidding.
cool.
The real deal. With the fire.
Yeah.
Just cool enough that we're not hopefully going to sweat like crazy here.
No, this is incredible. Getting cool out here tonight. Got a fire going.
Got the Defender gear.
All of us. Look, we're
sporting
both
our-
full
Yeah,
Defender
man.
geared up. Yeah. If you don't know about it, you got to go to defender-gear.com because that's where you get the real deal.
That's right. Good stuff and a lot of new stuff coming as well. We literally, I think it was like October the first time we thought about, we ought to do this thing together because you do your Front Porch Live on Sunday nights, 7 o'clock. You should definitely watch Mark every week. That's why mine doesn't start till 7:30. Mark is more disciplined than me, so he actually keeps his to 30 minutes. I rant and dribble on for a long time. Anyway, so we've talked for a long time about doing this together, so thanks for coming out, man.
Yeah, it's so cool to be here. You know, it's the funniest thing because Rick and I joke that we're brothers from another mother, and we get along so well. It just seems to be the perfect partnership, and it's years coming. I mean, that's the funniest part. We've kind of crossed paths and been
Other people
parallel.
have said, you got to meet Mark, you got to do
Yeah.
stuff with Mark. You know, other people told you that.
And it actually finally happened because one of my employees forced it to happen. Really, it's Monica, right?
right.
Monica Sellers just said, "Look, we need to do these trainings together. You guys need to get together." She did all the details. Your team did the details.
Yep.
That's what made it happen. It's
She
not.
was
It's
great.
not the two of us because we could never get our stuff together.
Right. No, in fact, that's why we have adult supervision tonight. Our wives are here. They're just right on the other side of that wall to make sure that we don't create any new businesses tonight. We don't come up with any new ideas. We just talk about what's going on. That was their ground rules. I
Yeah,
think.
this is actually a rule in our family that we're not supposed to get together without the wives.
That's right.
Because
That's right.
dangerous things happen. It's like we play with fire and firearms.
That's right. That's right. We are both patriots. We both love the country. We both have been fighting for the Constitution for a long time. Our audiences, a lot of you that are out there, have followed both of us for a while, and so I'm thrilled at the stuff we're doing together. Our new biblical citizenship class. In fact, I guess, man, this is like our fourth or fifth class to host
This
together.
will be the fourth class. I
Fourth
think,
class
last
on
year.
Monday nights.
Yep.
If you're not in there, make sure you log in. It's a great time. We've got over 18,000 now that have registered for that class, and I mean it's phenomenal. The new material we've got. You can see my Christmas present from Mark and Patty Meckler.
so
Brought
happy
that
about
tonight. If you're not familiar with what you're looking at right there, that is the monument in Plymouth that tells the story of the value system that was infused into our country. And Kirk Cameron made a movie about it called Monumental, and he had this mock-up. This is the largest granite monument in America, and not this one right here, but the real one in Massachusetts. Anyway, he had the Hollywood guys, the Weta Workshop folks that did Lord of the Rings and all that, do this mock-up. And so we're doing the class on Monday night, and Kirk's talking. We had filmed it a couple weeks ago in Thousand Oaks. He's walking through it, and Mark's texting me while the video's playing, going, "I got to get one of those monuments." And I was like, "Yeah, I want one too." I almost stole Kirk's at the event. And little did I know, he got online, ordered one, and tonight showed up at our house with that for Christmas. So you the man. Thank you, bro.
Look, it's incredibly inspiring. That story is so incredible. And I got to see it in person last year for the first time.
Nice.
Didn't know it existed. I went to Plymouth. I was meeting with some of my grassroots. It was a rainy day. And they said, "Look, before we go out to dinner, we've got to go see this monument. Have you ever seen it?" I'd never even heard of it, let alone seen it.
Yeah.
And when you go to see the actual real deal, it's literally, it's up on a hill, but it's surrounded by forest. And you literally, if you don't know it's there, you're not going there. You're not going to see it from anywhere else.
Basically hidden at this point where you wouldn't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently when it was built, the whole forest had been cut down. It was deforested, and it was sitting on top of this hill overlooking out towards the ocean, right? So it had this expansive view from where it sits. Now it's in the middle of the forest, but man, you go up to the thing and you read the inscriptions and you understand that right here on the top is faith, and that they were saying that this is the pinnacle value of the United States, that faith is always at the top. And then you go around the bottom and you've got law and you've got education and you got morality. It's incredible. And who's your favorite around the bottom?
Liberty, man.
Liberty,
and
man.
he's like Kirk Cameron says in the video that
He's
we
ripped.
just released. He is ripped, man. This guy is jacked. He's like very, very muscular. Anyway, lots of cool stuff. And Kirk walks through the whole thing in the first week of our new biblical citizenship class, which Mark and I hosted together on Monday night with all those folks. And I mean, I was there when we filmed it, but still just sitting there watching it on video, I was able to pay attention a little bit more in what he was saying. And I mean, jaw on the ground. I mean, it's powerful stuff. It's the answers. I mean, it's what we kind of know, I say that. Most people don't know, right?
Right,
We don't
right.
know what produces liberty, what protects liberty. And so it gives us a chance to really figure out what's the secret sauce. That's basically what we're about, is teaching people that and then implementing it. It's what you do at Convention of States, is actually saying, here's how we live this out. Here's how we preserve this. And I think people get hope when they know there's an answer. They get despondent when they think the system's so broken it can't be fixed. And I'm honest, Mark. I mean, I'm very transparent on this Front Porch Live. I mean, I've had my nights in the last few weeks where I have been going, wow. I mean, well, you said it in one of your Front Porch Lives, I think, or on one of our deals. You said fascism is slow until it's not, and then boom.
Yeah,
and that's
exactly
what's
how it
happened. So a
comes.
lot of people are back on their heels going, do I run for the hills? Do I run and go hide out at the ranch now? What do I do? That's obviously not the answer. So what can we do?
Yeah, I want to back up a little bit and talk about fascism a little bit, because you mentioned that. And when you ask people what's fascism, and when I first started looking at this, I struggled with it. What is fascism? Is it Nazi Germany? Is it Italy? Is communism fascism? What's the difference between those things? And this is actually pretty recent, somebody sent me the best definition I'd ever heard, came from Mussolini himself, who was the first person to identify himself and his government as fascist. Like, this was not a negative thing. This was a deal that he promoted, and he said fascism is everything in the state, nothing outside of the state, and nothing against the state. So everything inside, nothing outside, and nothing against.
So that last part is where the silencing part comes in.
Absolutely. Okay. So I want you to think about like what we're seeing with the rise of the radical left today. Look, they are statists, right? So they want everything inside the state. The federal government should control everything. They should control where and when we worship, what kind of car we drive, what kind of paint you put in your house, what kind of toilet you've got in your house, everything, right? So everything in the state, nothing's outside of the reach of the state. I mean, they don't like the Constitution because it keeps some things out of their reach, and then nothing against. And this is where what's really dangerous kind of and more powerful now about fascism is that it has these companies, these oligarchic giant tech companies that are enforcing the will of the fascists in government.
They're the brown shirts for
brown shirts, red brigade, same kind of thing, and nobody has to tell them to do it.
Yeah,
like it's a voluntary deal. And here's the thing that makes it really scary to me is in the days of fascism and Mussolini and the Nazis and all that, surveillance was not easy. It took a lot of people to surveil, neighbors watching neighbors. We're all carrying surveillance devices with us now.
Yeah.
I mean, they know where we are. They know who we're talking to. They're listening to all those telephone conversations. By the way, if you're not using Signal or Telegram or something like that now, I'm serious. And you might think I'm just a regular person. They're not watching me. No, they are. They're collecting all that data. They may not be paying attention to you today, but they will. They're watching the websites you visit. So you should be using a VPN. You should be using Signal, Telegram, one of these systems.
As you describe the whole fascism thing, everything in the state and the whole idea that they want to micromanage everything from, like you said, even how we design our house, our education system. The state is the answer to everything. If there's an illness, the state will solve it. And if not, stay at home until we do. I mean, all of that definitely fits what you're describing. And then the whole silencing piece, which I think is probably the most finally shocking enough. We saw the first two pieces coming over the years. Now this silencing piece has finally awakened, I think, a lot of folks that we would consider friends, family, whatever, that for years they've rolled their eyes at us, right, when we would teach this stuff. And now all of a sudden they're going, wait a minute, what you guys have been saying is coming to fruition right before us. And one of the methods of silencing outside of the whole big tech thing that I saw in the last couple of weeks and that you've already talked about as well is even the terminology and the extremism of the debate, where if you disagree, you are treasonous. You are a seditionist. They're labeling anything that doesn't fit the state, that's opposition. So because it is, they're labeling it with these terms where they truly will silence us and use government to silence us. In addition to the big tech. So tell me what you thought about that. I mean, there's always been leftist politicians and frankly some on the right that throw out incendiary language and crazy things in debates and call each other all kinds. But this is a whole new level. I mean, Dick Durbin says that we are domestic terrorists if we gather for a rally and wave flags now.
Right.
I mean, that's...
Well, and I think, what's interesting is we've been talking about this for a long time, guys like us, right? Yeah. And usually people look at us and you're like, oh, seriously? Do I have to listen to this again? And now it's on us, right? And they are silencing people. There are lots of people who went to the protest in Washington, D.C., who didn't do anything bad, which is most of the people.
Right,
who were
singing
there.
hymns, literally.
Right. The vast majority of people,
together?
the vast majority didn't even know anything bad happened at the Capitol. They came, they did their thing, it was peaceful, they left, they flew home, and they saw the stuff on the news. And yet everybody who's there is now being targeted, and they're being targeted in the media, and people are losing their jobs for having gone to this. So part of the silencing...
Kicked off of planes for singing the national anthem.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't make this stuff up.
No, so part of the silencing is the exclusion from polite society. And Tocqueville talked about this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he said, this soft tyranny is not, it's not like we're going to throw you in prison. It's what we're going to do is we're just going to remove you from society. Nobody will do business with you. Nobody will want to be seen with you socially. In the case of nowadays, you'll be excluded from social media, which is a large part of how we interact as human beings now. And you'll just be over there in the corner, essentially living death.
Right.
I mean, that's their intent
Right.
for us. So it's really bad.
Which incentivizes people to stop speaking out. It's the chilling effect, right? I want to be able to go to my local Rotary Club, or I want to be able to have my kids in school, so I'll just shut up. I'll just shut up so that I can participate.
Well, I'll give you a perfect, very personal example, which is killing me right now. Our organization has its email services on MailChimp. MailChimp is now scanning everybody's emails, and they are monitoring them. And if, for example, if you said anything about election fraud or irregular elections, they're taking your account away.
Wow.
Right? So this is the largest email.
Now, they're definitely going back 4 years and doing that to all the Democrats
Yeah,
that
of
use
course.
that same term. I just
perfectly
want to make sure,
equally
right,
applied.
because everything
Yeah,
is. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
No.
yeah.
So, I mean, in our case, what we've literally had to do is we have thousands of people that use our services through our company. And so what we've had to do is tell them you can't talk about the election.
Wow.
So I want you to think about that. So we're an organization on the right. Lots of people in the organization say that the election was not clean. It's kind of a mess. And
We got problems to fix.
And we got at least...
You're preparing them to go lobby the legislature to do the hard work of fixing stuff like that.
Can't talk about that in our email system now. So I went out to try to find another email provider. You know what I found? Zero.
No.
There's
kidding.
not one that aligns with us where we're safe. My chief technology officer said to me, look, Mark, I can move you to another email service. I don't know what's in their heart. They're all based
When are they going to jump on the same?
They're all based in
bandwagon?
the Silicon Valley. And it's, to be fair, sometimes it's not the philosophy of the company. It's the woke employees in the company go crazy, or it's the public goes crazy, their other clients go crazy, their bank goes crazy. And so it is very chilling.
Yeah.
So it's not fatal.
Right.
It
right.
is not fatal.
That's what
for the
Let's
Republic.
get there. Let's talk about that, because some people are right now saying it is and have given up, and we're past that point of, and I could go down that road and say, well, yeah, because the education system's been so bad for 50 years, because we've got so many now that have bought these lies, and now even the use of the media, the future is written. Donald Trump incited a riot and told his people to go destroy the Capitol and take over the government. I mean, that will be the line. They will use it from now on.
It's entirely untrue.
Entirely untrue. Did not happen. Can't back it up with any of his words. All of that. But that will be the line. And so people see that and they go, well, how can we ever win? Or, well, they did have these irregularities. They did cheat in these areas, or they did break the law in some of these states and change the election law. Now they're going to get away with it. We can never have a free and fair election again. So a lot of people are coming from that angle. What I've been saying is, look, yeah, they got away with a lot of this stuff. We didn't, and I thought Rob McCoy did this really well Sunday when he said, no complaints in Florida, no complaints in a bunch of these states. So we did it right in a bunch of these states. So it's not all gone. Dominion doesn't dominate the world. We haven't, there are ways to fix this at the local level in the states. That's the election piece. And then the whole free speech thing. There's ways to do this. It's not all lost, but we need to start getting people that outlet for righteous anger, basically.
Yeah.
What can I, how do I go out and use some of this frustration in the right way?
Yeah, and I have a very different perspective than most people. I thought 2020 was a great year, by the way. I mean, really, I know we had our challenges.
Right.
Challenges always provide opportunity. In our organization, the grassroots grew. We pivoted multiple times. We did a bunch of pandemic relief stuff. Like, our folks just made sure everybody was okay in the beginning. We reached out to the legislatures. We delivered groceries. To me, it was an incredible opportunity to serve, to say there's a bunch of stuff going on. We're not going to focus on ourselves. We're going to focus outward, and we're going to serve, right? And so what an opportunity.
Crisis reveals character, and it revealed the character of your organization.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we flipped again. everything's shut down too long. We start to realize this whole thing's a scam. And so we went out and we did the Open the States movement. And really proud of the people, our volunteers, our staff. It's hard to pivot your whole organization like that.
And y'all did that quickly. I remember how fast you were able to get videos out, websites out. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, and just staff working 24/7, volunteers buying into the mission and going to do it. And then we pivoted again and to get out the vote. Now you got an election on you, and we did that all across country, participated in 250 races around the country. Wow. Really amazing impact out there. Remember, if you hate 2020, in the States, you guys won over 100 legislative seats, flipped. From blue. They talked about the blue wave, right? We heard the blue wave's coming. There was a blue wave. Bye-bye.
Yeah, that's right. That's
See you guys later.
It hit a red wave. And,
literally from Congress on down.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand that we lost the Senate. That's not a good thing. But I want you to think about what happened in the House of Representatives. 14 races were rated as lean Democrat. All of them won by Republicans.
Wow.
100% of them. So, look, and we picked up seats.
Even in the Senate, they were supposed to win like 6 or 7 more. I mean, it was supposed to be far worse than it was.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we really had a red wave. So I think 2020 overall, basically a good year.
I want to echo that because for me, I'm a glass half full guy too. And what I saw was people waking up. Now, of course, I hated the tyranny. Of course, I hated all the stuff that happened. But what I saw was people waking up and for the first time saying, okay, yeah, I need to study the Constitution. Yeah, I need to be involved. I don't like when I'm seeing pastors that said, wait, now
Enough.
I've never thought about the proper role of government and what we could do or not do. Really started studying Romans 13. When do I say no? And what is a just law? I mean, these are great questions to be asking that nobody was asking in 2019, but in 2020 they did. So I share exactly where you are on that, and I feel the same way about 2021. I think what happened in 2020, we have a visitor. I don't know if that bug's coming through on the screen. But anyway, so I think we have a great opportunity to segue that into channeling that action and saying, okay, great, you're frustrated. You see the problems. Now do something about it. Don't just complain, but actually be a part of the solution.
Well, what we hear all the time, you hear it, I hear it, the country's coming apart at the seams. Everybody hates each other. It's worse than it's ever been in our history. Not true. It's not true. This is a super important lesson that people have to understand. If you go all the way back to before the American Revolution and you think about the 13 colonies and they all lived in peace and harmony and they all... Right, that's not the history, but that's what we think.
Right.
I mean, generally, we don't hear about the disagreements. The colonies actually hated each other. All right, mostly sectarian Christian differences.
Yeah.
Each colony thought the other colonies were full of blasphemers. You got Puritans and you got the Congregationalists.
Everybody's going to hell with them.
Right, exactly, right? And so that's that's pretty serious stuff, right?
Yeah.
In fact, it's so serious that at the time of convention in 1787, New York and New Jersey are about to come to military blows over trade.
Wow.
Like they're going to kill each other. This is how much the colonies like each other, right?
Yeah.
So what happens?
Your Kumbaya wasn't written then?
Yeah, no Kumbaya, no. So what happens is now there's a greater enemy outside. Right, so suddenly everybody's upset about King George and what he's imposing on the colonies. So the colonies say, we got to link arms. We're going to have to fight. I don't really like you, don't really trust you, but we have a common enemy and we're going to get crushed if we don't stand against a common enemy. So they all link arms. They fight the revolution. Of course, we know the story. It comes out well in the end, which most revolutions say all revolutions don't, right?
Yeah.
This is an important lesson for all of us, right? Normally, the worst tyrant is who wins the revolution. And so it comes out well. And then afterwards, what's so amazing is these guys are all now brothers in arms, right? They've fought a war together. They've been in the trenches together. Literally, regiments from different colonies have been together in this fight. So now they all trust each other. No, that's actually not what's happening. That's not what happens at all. They get together to form a government and they're like, I don't trust you. I don't like you. You're not from my state. And so we're going to set up these Articles of Confederation and we're going to give them zero power to a central government because I don't trust anybody from your state to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
So it completely fails because they don't like each other. They don't trust each other. See, we think they all liked and trusted each other. It's so different now.
Right.
It's always been this way. Doesn't work. 1787 comes along. They get into convention. It's great because all those guys go into convention. They all love each other. They're hanging out, neck massages, right? No, they're yelling at each other. Madison's notes, they're accusing each other of self-interest and big states against the small states. It's phenomenal. Why? Because they design a government that is specifically made for people who don't like and don't trust each other. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's our time, right?
Right.
And
but they use that
yes,
to create where the self-interest would end up serving the system as a whole.
Yeah, and so they said we're going to give the federal government limited enumerated powers, right? Because we don't trust them. Well, I don't trust you. You don't trust me. I'm not going to give some central government that you're in power over me.
Right.
Limited enumerated powers, and it's beautiful.
And we only want the federal government to do what only the federal government can do, and
Yep.
not anything else.
So
leave the rest of the state.
Best government ever designed in human history, right? Comes out of a group of people who don't like each other. I think this is extraordinary. So then we go forward, and of course, then we get complete unity in the country. We all love each other so much.
Never had another fight.
No,
no rebellions.
Well,
no,
we run into a little thing in the 1860s where we kill each other.
Just a small.
Hundreds
yeah,
of over
right,
700,000
right.
people,
Yeah.
right, die. We kill each other. This is how much we like each other as a country. And in fact, what happens in the end is we force the Union back together.
Yeah.
And this is how much we like
And that's
each other.
skipping over Shays Rebellion, the Whiskey Rebellion, I mean, all these other things that
Yeah,
happened.
so we didn't like each other. Forced the Union back together. Good thing, in my opinion, of course, right? So we stay together. Why do we have to stay together? The world is a dangerous place, right? In 1787, it's France, it's England, it's Spain. And you've got, obviously, we've got problems overseas also during the time of the Civil War. There's always predators out there at our borders wanting to see us fall apart. So now you fast forward for me to the Second World War, right? So
wait. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So what was the mindset partially? I'm stronger as Virginia if I have this loose knit,
scale, we have power to negotiate better trade deals with other countries on a national scale.
Yeah.
Right?
Sorry to interrupt you. All right,
no,
go
that's
back
perfect.
in there.
Okay, so now you get to Second World War. Guess what? Another wolf at the door. We got worldwide fascism coming on, and it's a threat to liberty all over the world. We engage in that war. We come out of that war, and we actually are kind of unified at the end of World War II. Like, we feel like, man, we flexed our muscles. We're pretty bad. We did this thing worldwide. We proved to everybody we are the world power. And so there's a little bit of unity. We get actually the most prosperous period in American history coming out of World War II, right? Fast forward into the 1950s. In the 1950s, what starts to happen is what I call the Veneer of Unity. So in the 1950s, you get television that's national. We start watching.
First time everybody's, not everybody, but almost everybody's watching the same stuff.
So Father Knows Best, Ozzie and Harriet, Leave It to Beaver, all these national television shows. By the way, then you get national brands, too, that are advertising on these national television shows.
I'm reinforcing that
the
shared
Veneer,
value
right? I'm
system
using the same. I'm using Baraxo. You're using Baraxo, right? We're smoking the same Lucky Strikes or whatever it is, right? And so then you get in the 1960s, end of 50s, 60s, you get franchising. Now, if I live in Mississippi and I go to New York, I can eat at McDonald's in both places. So I feel like, well, my food's here, my food's there. We're watching the same television. We're using. It's all kind of the same. And you start to move from the 60s into the 70s. You know what that means? Well, we're all the same, so we can have one government, right? Because, like, why not? If we're all the same, why not all have the same policies? And the 70s is kind of the heyday of massive government in America. And nobody's objecting to it, right? But the truth is, if you go to Mississippi in 1971 and you go to New York City in 1971,
very different
countries,
Yeah.
pretty much,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you would feel so culturally out of place if you'd spent your entire life in Mississippi and you go to New York City.
Yeah.
So we're still very different. And then from about the 1960s on, something's happening under this veneer, which is the ruling elite, the people in the education establishment, the media establishment, the government establishments start moving to the left. 73, we get Roe versus Wade. Conservatives like, what do you mean there's a constitutional right to kill babies in the womb? Like, where'd that come from? It comes from nowhere. And this comes out of the left. You start to, get fast forward to today and you get men are women, women are men, both are neither. We have to say weird gender things like G and Z and whatever all that garbage is, right? And all of a sudden conservatives are going, what in God's name is going on? Who are you?
Yeah.
Like, you're not my countryman. I don't like you very much, to be honest with you. I don't like your values. I don't believe in your values. And on the other side, they're saying, the heck is wrong with you people, right? You're Neanderthals, you're Nazis, you're thugs, you're whatever, you're racists, right? So that means we really don't like each other. So that brings us to right now. And my point is this. The more things change,
the more they
stay the same. There's no difference. So what's the solution? It's right here.
Yeah.
It's go back to the beginning. The beginning is We didn't like each other very much. We didn't trust each other very much. So we designed a system of government called federalism that allows people who don't like each other very much to live together without forcing their values and their views on each other.
The wisdom of the founding fathers in designing it that way. And I mean, I would say wisdom, you could almost say by
Providence.
force. And providence. And they didn't have another choice, right? They had to do it that way. And God used all of those things.
Right.
And it worked. And so how do we restore that? How do we get... we do all these Constitution classes and we talk about the 17 enumerated powers, but we know they're doing 100 other things that are causing this conflict. So we want to get back to the point where the united government, the federal government, is only doing those things, and let California be California, and let Massachusetts be let Texas be Texas. How do we make that shift and pull that power back from those guys?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a method, but before we even go there, I want to say that this is good, right? This is not bad. Everybody's lamenting, right? Rending of garments,
right.
Wailing, and it's not bad. It's actually good because reality is important, right? And one of my friends says reality is an acquired taste. I have a strong taste for reality.
Right.
This has always been our reality. So we've been living in a false reality where we think we can do all this stuff together, and we can't.
Yeah.
So I think now everybody realizes we can't. Two choices. One is break the country.
Total, literal, whether there's a civil war or not, a
Secession,
literal divorce, complete divorce.
Right. So you break. I don't know how you do it. I don't see a way to do it geographically.
Right.
It's really hard.
Right, because you have red states spread out, you have blue states spread out.
And you got blue areas, and we got Austin, Texas, right here in Texas, very blue, but most of the state's red. How do you do? So I don't actually see a way to do it. Number two is we live in the same world the founders lived in. It's dangerous. They had Germany, France, and Spain and others. We've got the Chinese communists. We've got the Islamo-fascists. We've got Russia and frankly, private cartels that would like to see the United States fall apart, and they would take advantage of it. Yeah. And frankly, I don't know any way we divide and are strong enough to face off against that. I don't think that's possible. So to me, that means the only path is to stay together and to use what the founders gave us to stay together. Very specifically, obviously I have a bias for this. It's Convention of States. In Article 5 of the Constitution, they told us bad times are going to come.
Yeah.
Federal government's going to overreach. They're going to tell you all what to do. They're going to take power they don't have. They're going to get outside the box. We're giving you, the people acting through the state legislatures, power to call a convention, propose amendments to put the federal government back in the box, get us back to the enumerated power. So I think right now that's the place. I can tell you, Rick, it's crazy. I can't keep up with all the interest right now. I mean, state legislatures. I had somebody, a friend of ours in the legislature in Idaho, went to a John Birch Society meeting. Now, those
who's very anti.
Oh, they hate us, man. I am as bad as it gets, according to the John Birch Society. And what they told him at the meeting, and he went to talk about Convention of States, they said, we don't know if we can oppose this any longer. Like they're
wait. This was a John Bircher that said
this. Was a John Birch at the meeting general session. They're
that's
like,
huge,
right? They're like, we don't know how we can oppose this anymore with what's going on. And I would say this, look, and I know there's probably skeptics watching,
of course.
And I get all the runaway convention stuff. We could talk about that some other time. But here's the deal: today, with the radical left in charge of Washington D.C., we've got a Harris-Biden presidency taking place. We've got the Democrats in control of the House and the Senate. If you're not in favor of this now, then I'm really blunt about this. Then you're supporting the Marxists.
That's right.
Then you're in favor of the statists. Then you're willing to lose the country, and I don't understand it anymore.
I'm like you. I don't see a viable path without it. Right? They will force their will upon us in every little way that we live our lives without it. Because they're going to use the federal government to do that. They've shown that they're willing to do that. So we have to strip that power from the federal government. And frankly, I'm wondering, and you would know because some of them would be contacting you, are there blue states and even blue representatives that realize, hey, November 3rd, the conservatives across this country won like crazy at state level, federal level. The presidential election was neck and neck no matter which way you look at it. Wow, Supreme Court now has 5, constitutional conservatives on it. We can't, as blue, liberals, we can't rule through the court anymore like they've done for 50 years. Are they starting to say, maybe we need to put in some precautions here to let California be California? Or is it? Nope, they're not on board.
No,
Darn it, I gave them too much
honestly,
credit.
right now they're just drunk with power and drunk on the victory, right?
Okay.
And so I think we'll start to come home if our state legislative representatives actually start doing things, right? So in the conservative states, and I think this is really important, blame where it's due. if you look at Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, and all these places, it's the Republicans that allowed the changes to the electoral system that hurt us.
Yeah.
And they're fully responsible for this stuff. So the question is, will they have the backbones in the states where they can, where they have a governor that'll sign off to do the right things, to get rid of mail-in ballots, maybe to go back to a 1 or a 2 day election, to stop same-day registration. Wisconsin, both houses of the legislature controlled by Republicans, and they have same-day registration. Yeah. They had a Republican governor for years. They have same-day registration. I mean, it's crazy. It is a recipe for fraud. And I want to be clear. I'm not saying we lost Wisconsin because of fraud. I don't know.
Right.
Like, I don't know any of it yet. I want the full investigation. I'm not saying we didn't either.
Right.
But you got Republicans to blame in all the important states in Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, all of them. Republicans controlled the legislatures.
Yeah, no doubt. So that means we've got a lot of work to do within the Republican Party. Well, this is off topic, but I'll throw it out there anyway. There's some that are, because of that, also saying forget the Republican Party. And it just seems to me like that is a vehicle. It's not, it's whoever dominates the vehicle. And to go start another vehicle or create another vehicle right now just doesn't seem like a good use of resources. It doesn't seem like we could even do it effectively in enough time. I mean, we're at a point where we got to move fast, and you can take over a party. You can get good people elected.
Absolutely.
So what do you think about that? I mean, there's some people saying start a third party right now. Now's our chance. Trump could lead it, all of that. I just feels to me like that gives it to the Democrats for 10 years while we try to develop a new party.
Yeah, I think it's actually worse than you say. And the reason I say that is there are legal structures in place that prevent third parties from rising in this country. It was not intended to be this way. Party system was supposed to be like a social club. Right? There was zero government regulation. Your Lions Club, your Rotary, it's not regulated by the federal government.
Yeah.
And the Republican Party, the Democrat Party, the Whig Party, these were essentially social clubs around politics, right? They had their own rules. They enforced their own rules and their own discipline. In fact, until the early 1900s, there was no such thing as a primary. Like that started in Wisconsin.
So you would just say I'm with this party because you knew that social club was behind you,
right?
It didn't actually say you're not on the ballot going, hey, this is the party that wins in March. Or you're not running against people with
you didn't run against the people.
Yeah.
You would vote for a slate. And until the 1900s, people didn't even campaign. Like you would go in and you would vote for the red slate or the blue slate. You would just choose a slate.
Yeah.
And the party itself would choose the candidate.
Interesting.
So there were no primaries. The first primary, I believe, was 1903 in Wisconsin. So a lot of bad stuff has come out of Wisconsin.
Yeah,
so,
thanks, Wisconsin.
Yeah, exactly. All the labor union stuff comes out of Wisconsin. Yeah. Although the Republican Party was founded in Ripon, Wisconsin.
I didn't know that.
Okay, so we had this system, and then the parties grew up, right? And so back then, by the way, people would complain because it was in smoke-filled, cigar smoking rooms where all the decisions were made on. Yeah. There's a lot of cigar smoke.
We got cigar smoke on the porch, but it's not a secret meeting. Let's put it that
even
way.
those, so they enforced party discipline. Yeah. There were no term limits, by the way. So rotation in office was enforced by the parties.
Interesting.
Abe Lincoln served from Springfield, Illinois, went to Congress, wanted to serve another term, and they told him, no, you just get your butt home. There's another guy going after you. They didn't want that. They wanted rotation in office. All party enforced until you start to get the primaries. The primaries, again, in early 1900s. And then what happens is government starts to get involved, and it becomes an incumbency protection racket. Right. So now the party is ensconced in law, and there are certain percentages of vote that you have to get or signatures you have to get on the ballot, and they make it harder and harder and harder to run a third party, to the point where I would argue today, and we've researched it. The Tea Party days, like, oh, you should become a party.
Right.
We had 23 million people. We could have been a party. It's not structurally possible in America today.
But it is possible to work within a party to win elections and to take over apparatus. I mean, frankly, state parties, we always tell everybody go vote. Well, you should also be involved in, I think, the Republican Party. That's the only place I think we can make a difference right now. The left has taken over the Democrats for sure. The moderates have taken over the Republican Party. Go to the state convention, go to the precinct convention, be part of that voice, and run for office. Frankly, run for local office. Okay, I know we're going to try to not go 2 hours like I normally go. So we could talk about so many different things. There's so many things I would love to ask you, but let's let folks that are chatting, what are they saying? What would they like us to talk about?
There hasn't been very many questions. People are just responding to what y'all are saying.
Okay.
But there's been a lot of talk about convention estates in the chat. People just, again, with the whole runaway and maybe talk about the safety net and where you think all the states are actually with that, and how strong the safety net still is. Correct?
Yeah, and let me definitely say this. Go to conventionestates.com. There's a ton of fantastic videos on there, articles on there from brilliant people answering every single one of these things. And we even filmed some answers to a lot of this, which we haven't even released yet. But go to conventionestates.com for a more in-depth conversation about that. But
we have an upcoming series, right? There's an app for that, isn't
yeah,
there?
there's an app for that. That's right. We've got a whole series. We did like
a little
I don't know,
preview
15,
to that.
Yeah. So there is an app
teaser
for
you.
It's found.
Okay. So I just want to walk through the basic runaway thing. So the basic objection to the convention is we could have a runaway convention. What it means by that, I'm just going to try and present this fairly. What the opponents mean is we could get into convention. The convention is called for a specific reason that each state is proposing the same resolution. It calls for 3 subject matter areas. You can talk about anything that would impose term limits on the federal government, federal officials. So that's Congress, judges, staffers, and bureaucrats. All important in my opinion.
Yes.
You can impose there's a second one is fiscal restraints. You can impose a balanced budget, taxation caps, spending caps, anything that would put fiscal restraints on the federal government. Third one is my favorite, anything that would impose scope or jurisdiction or power restrictions on the federal government, right?
Pulling that stuff back from the Fed.
It's like just saying, hey, you can't be involved in education.
Yeah.
You can't be involved in the
You don't need to have a Department of Agriculture that takes 4 city blocks in Washington, D.C. We got that covered in our
Make that
states.
stuff go away. Because, by the way, the states do all of that stuff.
That's right.
And you mentioned, this is an interesting aside, Hamilton and Jefferson, the argument between big government and small government, right? Hamilton and Jefferson in absolute agreement on exclusive spheres of influence.
Yeah.
Right? If the federal government can do it, then the states can. If the states can, then the federal government can't.
No need to duplicate.
Right. And they just basically said, look, how could you live in a system where they duplicate?
We're asking that question right now.
Nobody can follow the law.
Okay, I'm going to be devil's advocate. So what happens if all these, we have a convention, all these people get together, and the crazy QAnon guy with the buffalo horns shows up and manages to take over the convention and get something bad passed?
Yeah, so first of all, they get into convention, right? And so they go to convention. How do the delegates get chosen? Your state legislature chooses the delegates.
So he's not likely to show up then.
Well, he might. Well, no, he's from Arizona. They're pretty conservative, so he's probably not going to
make it.
He might move to California.
Then
they
he
would
might
send
make
him.
it.
Yeah,
Yes,
they would
yes,
definitely
okay.
send him. And so you get into convention. You got to remember, today there are 31 states with both houses controlled by Republicans. So not just a little bit of a majority, significant majority. So
and the governor has no say. So
governor
even in
has
those
no
states
say.
where we don't have the trifecta, the state legislators are the ones that are going to choose who to send.
will choose, right? So they're going to send delegates or commissioners to the convention. Each commissioner is bound by those 3 areas I said, and then they carry a commission with them that says what their authority is. We know this because it's been done ever since the beginning of our country. We've had interstate conventions since before 1787, 11 of them before, 30 since. Always been done the same
Again,
way.
go to the website because there's some great papers and videos on that.
All the stuff is there. So they get to convention. They're going to decide on their own rules. Now, this freaks everybody out. Oh, we don't know what the rules are going to be. Okay, 40 conventions plus in American history, always the same rules. I mean, there are a little bit of variety. We've pulled the rules from all of them. Rob Natelson has done the scholarship, basically the same. If you want to know what the rules are going to be at convention, 70% of state legislatures use Mason's rules. The other ones use Robert's Rules of Order, something very similar. So they're going to be like that.
Right.
Mostly legislators attend these things. They're going to use what they're familiar with. They're going to set those rules, right? And then you get into convention.
And we've seen this in a simulated session or simulated.
You were there?
Article 5 convention. I got to be John Madden. I had the earphones on. I was doing the play-by-play. It was awesome. Anyway, but we saw it, and these were legislators from all over the country. It was amazing to watch. So we kind of know. We really know.
Yeah, we know what it looks like. We know how it works. So they get into convention. Now let's say what is going to happen. You guys are right. If you're worried about California, that's correct.
They're going to propose crazy stuff.
And they're going to say, delegate from California rises to introduce an amendment to repeal the Second Amendment of the United States. There are no protections for guns anymore. You know what's going to happen? Delegate from Texas is going to rise and say, Mr. Chairman, point of order from the delegate from Texas. This is non-germane to this convention. It is outside the scope of convention, and I ask that you gavel the member from California out of order. And the president or the chairman of the convention is going to say, gavelled out of order. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Like, maybe it goes...
Maybe they take a vote.
Maybe they take a vote. You would still have to get actually at least half, depending on the rules, maybe 2/3 to 3/4 to gavel that back in order.
Yeah.
Right, so the odds of getting that very low. Maybe I'm wrong. California, they're bringing the hookah pipe. I'm just saying, right? So maybe everybody's drinking the Kool-Aid. They're smoking from the hookah pipe. Who knows what they do? I mean, they're human beings.
Right.
They could go crazy at convention. So let's say they get 26 states to agree to that. Somehow, somewhere. Again, remember, 31 states, both houses controlled by Republicans. So now you're going to think they get 26 states somehow, and they propose an amendment to repeal the Second Amendment. So what happens? So this is one of the things that cracks me up when people are so fearful of a convention.
Yeah.
A convention has a lot of power to make suggestions.
Right. None of it actually, it's not going to automatically be in the Constitution. It's literally to propose amendments.
Yeah, so has there ever been a time in your life where somebody said, Rick, we're going to get together, we're going to have a meeting, people are going to make some suggestions, and you said, oh, no, we can't do that. Suggestions.
Right.
That's terrifying for you. Can't let people make suggestions. No. I mean, that's ridiculous. And I'm joking about this, but I mean this, seriously.
This is what is going to happen.
Like,
they will be suggestions.
And so now those suggestions go out to the states for ratification.
All 50.
Yep. All 50 states get to weigh in. It takes 38 states to ratify, 13 states to object to ratification, and you don't get ratified.
And even just one chamber
Right.
out of one of those states. So if your Senate says yes, but your House says no, it's a no for that state.
And to object, a state has to do what? Do you know what they have to do to object to not ratify?
I nothing. Not ratify.
They do nothing.
If they don't even meet, it's an objection.
That is correct. So what's the you've been a state legislator,
Yeah.
right? So what's the easiest thing for a legislature to do?
Nothing.
Nothing. Right? There's a lot of nothing goes on.
They do it often.
Right.
They're good at it.
And so this is the deal.
Well, actually, they're not good enough at it because they also
we wish
do
they
too
did
much.
more. So here's the thing. I want you to imagine this. I want you to imagine the Second Amendment. Like, you guys can't see this. We're both armed. We're always carrying our
betcha.
firearms, right? And there's an AR sitting over on the table over there. This is the Green household after all. And so, look, we love our Second Amendment. We love our guns. Now, I want you to imagine this. There currently are 24 states, where you can actually carry a firearm into the state legislature. I do it all the time,
kidding.
right? Here in Texas.
I thought we were special in Texas.
Yeah, no, 25, right? There are 14 where you can carry an AR slung across your back into the gallery of the legislature.
Wow.
Okay.
All
right. That's a little scary, maybe, but you can.
Yeah.
Right. And we've seen imagery of people doing this stuff, right? Now I want you to imagine this. It takes only 13 states to stop it, the 13 most conservative states in America. So now I'm going to go to Alabama, Tennessee, West Virginia, the Carolinas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Texas. I'm going to walk into the legislature.
Hey, I got this suggestion for you guys. I want you to repeal the Second Amendment.
And this is what I say, like, if you're going to do that, you better be armed, right? Because
fast.
a bunch of guys are going to be like,
Right.
they're like the legislators.
You say what? That's when we need Sam Elliott to do that.
You say what, son?
Yeah.
And so it's impossible. It's
Yeah.
literally impossible. So this is just a fantasy. It's like a fever dream of, and where the fever dream comes from, this is really important too. Look, there are people on the right saying this, please don't take insult.
Right.
It's just, I've been doing this so long, it gets frustrating to me. And so I want you to know, if you believe this stuff, you need to know where you got it from.
Yeah.
Conservatives, we should know the source of our information, right?
Right, absolutely.
So here's where it came from.
We seek truth around here.
Yeah, so here's where it comes from. In 1973, you get Roe versus Wade. What are states supposed to do when they don't like the Supreme Court and what they do? They're supposed to call an Article 5 convention, and they're
Overrule
supposed to overrule
Yeah.
it, right? We have the power to do this. We pass an amendment. We say, no, you can't do that. So 73, you start to get states saying,
essentially did that with the 11th Amendment. Even though it originated in Congress,
Absolutely.
it was overruling the Supreme Court.
So you got the founders tell us, if you don't like what the Supreme Court does, you overrule them with an amendment.
Yeah.
So 73, a bunch of states start doing this. Ultimately gets to 20 states say they're gonna overturn Roe versus Wade. At some point during that process, and I don't know why, Phyllis Schlafly, founder of Eagle Forum, great American woman.
Right, and pro-life.
No,
Yeah.
the pro-life
Right.
activist, right? The early pro-life. No disdain to her. She writes a letter to Chief Justice Warren Burger. You might recognize that name. He signed as Chief Justice Roe versus Wade. He knows that this drive for a convention is going on. She asked him, Mr. Chief Justice, he's retired at the time, what do you think of the idea of a convention? What's he going to say?
Interesting.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. Overturn Roe versus Wade.
Overrule me.
And the
Yes.
seminal decision of my court.
Yeah.
The most important leftist decision of my court. I want you to That's a great idea. No, here's a guy who's never written on Article 5. Never. Not a word, right? Who's never had an Article 5 case. He's never written a law review article. He's never commented on it in public. And he says, I think it's a terrible idea. We might have a runaway convention and lose our beloved Constitution. This is where the words runaway convention come from.
No kidding.
Chief Justice Warren Burger.
I did not know
We have
that.
all the documentation. He and his office then contact law professors at Harvard and Yale and tell them, we got a problem. Conservatives have this idea. They can use Article 5 to fix the stuff that we're doing. This is really bad. We got to stop them. They start writing law review articles about runaway convention, and this becomes, well, today we would call it a meme, right? But this becomes sort of a viral thing back then.
Yeah.
It gets passed around. Phyllis takes that letter, passes it around to everybody, and there's a bunch of people on the right that say, oh, runaway convention.
To this day.
To this day. Where that myth starts to fall apart is less than 10 years ago, Professor Rob Nadelson, he says, I got to figure this out. I'm interested in Article 5 because nobody's really written about it. I'm going to write about it. And literally I've talked to Rob, so what was your really scholarly reason for wanting to write about Article 5? He said, nobody ever had before. And that was really it. It's like I
see a hole.
That was pretty much it. A hole in scholarship. I'm going to dig in.
Yeah.
He was anti the use of Article 5.
He was.
He was anti when he started. And he said, I just thought that's crazy. Why would you do that? It would open up the Constitution. And he thought 1787 was a runaway convention. Franklin, Madison, all those guys, Washington there at the podium, and they let it run away. We don't got anybody like that, right? So he was worried about that. So first thing he does, go to the National Archives, opens a drawer, pulls out documents that nobody has looked at since 1787. Not one human.
Seriously.
These are the actual commissions that the commissioners took with them to 1787 convention to say what their authority was, right? So he looks at them, and as he reads them, what he finds is every one of those guys had full authority to do everything, anything. The language says the commissioner has any and all authority to do anything necessary to render the federal constitution adequate for the exigencies of the union.
In other words, no runaway.
Runaway.
There was nothing to run away from.
They could.
They were literally doing now, and by the way, this whole idea of that commission, that goes back even to the Continental Congresses, because they had to send back and ask for permission to even vote for independence, because initially some of those states, 3 or 4 of them, didn't have that permission. So there was a concept of, I only have authority to do so much.
And the concept is bound up in the concept of honor. Like, we know about honor back then. We don't even understand honor the way that they understood. It's almost a vacuous word nowadays compared to what it meant back then.
Right.
Back then, honor meant, if I said to you right now, Rick, you're a liar. Like, in a lot of states back then,
duel time, buddy. It's time for duel.
And if you had killed me,
it
would have been fine.
Yeah.
There's no charges for that, right? So this is how high they held the concept of honor. Like, it was a pinnacle concept for them. And people say, and you'll hear the John Birch Society say this, or Eagle Forum folks, well, the Founding Fathers, it's a runaway convention. Now imagine Washington sitting up there, right, overseeing the convention, and he, in the back of his mind, is thinking, we're definitely not allowed to do this stuff. Like, nobody here has authority to, but whatever.
Yeah. We know better. We're doing it.
Yeah, we're not bound by anything. We said we wouldn't do this stuff, but let's just do it.
Right.
There's no way. I mean, it's so insulting. This is kind of a personal passion mission for me, is to restore the reputation of the founders at convention. They did not run away in 1787.
Okay, most important question I could possibly ask about a potential convention of states is, when it does happen, will the presiding officer wear a powdered wig to look like George Washington, and will we get a mock-up of the chair with the rising or setting sun that you and I had so much fun with at Independence Hall? Those two questions must be answered.
They must be answered. I will, if I am a delegate, vote for the powdered wig and the chair.
One vote.
And so if you're there, we have 2 votes.
2 votes.
I got to tell you, I don't know if you guys got to see the blooper video of Rick and I from Independence
Put a
Hall.
link in there, Reagan, if you can, if you have a way to find it.
It was. I've now watched that blooper video at least 20 times. And I don't know if you guys enjoy it as much as I do, but it is so funny because you guys see.
Wait, blooper, we don't make mistakes.
Yeah. We are a walking or sitting mistake, as the case may be. And I think it's really fun to show people, like, we're not, like, we're
being
just
real.
we're just regular people, right?
Right.
And I think you watch Hannity or whatever it is on Fox, and everything's so produced and perfect, and we can't handle the technology. We can't remember what we're supposed to say.
That's why I love the front porch. That's why I love these classes we do on Monday night. We don't prep. We go in, we watch the videos, we have Q&A, we have a great time, conversation.
What do you mean we don't prep? I mean, I'm there usually within
at least 30 seconds when it's time to go.
I try to do 3 minutes usually, just to make sure the connection is working sometimes.
Yeah.
That's in my
prep.
world, that's prep.
That's prep.
This is why our wives have to be here, because they don't like that stuff.
Okay, I got it. I'm going to switch gears for just a second before I don't know how much time we got. Are we getting close to our limit?
Any questions?
No. Let's hit some of the stuff that happened this week, right? So let's at least address the impeachment. The way I see this, Donald Trump always has to be the best at everything, has to do it bigger, better, more, and so it had to be huge. He had to be impeached twice in order to outdo any previous president. I mean, that's my take on it. What do you think?
Yeah, the Democrats, man, that is going deep. They went deep in the well on this one. It's really incredible. It's an incredible waste of time and resources. It's clear theatrics. What they're trying to do is just damage him.
That's right.
They're worried about him in 2022, 2024. I mean, he said he's going to take.
And you
back
mean in
that-
2022 by being a force within the
Absolutely.
elections,
They
whoever
don't-
he supports.
That's right.
Yeah.
They don't want him to be a force. That's why they have to say he incited violence. Look, this is the only impeachment in American history where there's actually zero evidence presented.
And no hearing, no discussion, no hearing. I mean, well, I say no discussion. They debated it a little bit on the floor. No due process, none.
Zero. And so it's a sham. It's a scam. It's, to quote President Trump, it's a witch hunt.
Yeah.
It's as bad as anything I've ever seen. It's banana republic kind of stuff. It's just an embarrassment.
But this is how you bring people together. This is how you unite, because that's what they're doing, right? They're uniting the country. They're bringing us all together by dismissing 75 million or 80 million, however many of us actually voted for Trump. So, yeah, and just quick lesson for everybody, if you haven't watched the videos that we put out on this, there was calls for the 25th Amendment. Pence would have had to have been on board with that, which he obviously wasn't. And I frankly, I threw out, multiple things Pence could have done that day. I think Pence acted as a statesman. I know a lot of people have thrown him under the bus right now, and they're saying they hate him and all that. I think he did marvelous. I mean, even though he didn't take the path that I wanted, that would have been very difficult to actually do and then and uphold, right? So even if he had just asked for time for the other states, for those legislators we talked about, they've had 2.5 months and they hadn't done it. I mean, even though I wanted to put them on the spot and say, hey, boys, get your stuff together and tell us who you really want as electors. Anyway, all that to say, I frankly think he handled that well and then handled this whole request for the 25th Amendment well.
By the way, that request entirely unconstitutional.
Unbelievable.
Total violation.
Speaker has zero role.
Separation
Yeah.
of powers violation,
Yeah.
right? That requires people in the president's cabinet. It's executive branch authority only.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with Congress. Congress out of bounds, even talking about it.
Yeah.
And now
the only way it would have gone to Congress is if they had invoked the 25th and the president says, no, I'm not incapacitated, and then they disagree again. They would have to actually tell Congress, we're invoking the 25th. Trump would send his letter and say, no, I'm just fine. They would then have to act again, and at that point, the House and Senate would have a voice.
Right. I mean,
and they'd have to vote 2/3.
And they tell us they love the Constitution and they're
Oh,
protecting
my
the
gosh.
They don't even read the
That's
Constitution
right.
to be blunt.
They don't know. Yeah.
So impeachment, it's just a joke and a scam.
And same thing, if they try to impeach after the 20th, I feel really weird here because we are on the same page as Cass Sunstein, Jonathan Turley, and Alan Dershowitz. We're in trouble, man.
Yeah.
I mean, all of it, when we agree with these liberal Harvard law professors that is absolutely unconstitutional, the impeachment clause clearly says removal. I mean, it's just nuts what they're doing. But it is, and this is what I want to ask you about it. I think they're trying to push our side into violence. I think they're trying to get people that are already on the edge to react to this. And so we want to constantly say to our folks, don't take the bait. Don't fall for this stuff.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that is what they're trying to do. They're intentionally trying to divide the nation. They want to make people on the right look bad. This is, I'm always sensitive to bring this up, but I'm going to say it. You had the Reichstag fire in Germany in 1933. I'm not likening this to Nazi Germany. Can I say that?
Right,
enough
right,
times,
right.
This is not Nazi Germany, but there's a methodology here we have to understand. There's no actual proof that the Nazis lit the Reichstag fire, but that's what most historians believe, right? That's what
But
happened.
they definitely used it.
So what happened is they have the Reichstag fire, think of the riot at the Capitol, and they said, okay, now we can impose all these draconian restrictions on the population. And I'm just telling you, it's coming. Congress is going to pass stuff. It's going to be unconstitutional. They're going to clamp down on your religious freedoms, your civil liberties, your speech rights, your travel rights. I mean, they're already doing it with all the mask mandate stuff and all the stuff at the state level. It's coming to the federal level, and they're going to use the radicalism of the right to justify all this stuff.
Yeah, and the only distinction I'd make with the Reichstag fire is that they don't need to pass the Enabling Act that ultimately allowed them to get rid of freedom of speech. By the way, you realize that they had freedom of speech, freedom of religion, they had freedom of assembly, very similar terminology. But they don't need the Enabling Act to do it. They're using big tech, like where we started, coming full circle to the beginning, to be the ones to do it. But they did need the fire. They did need the riot.
The triggering event.
Yeah, the triggering event. So don't be a part of any triggering event. Don't apologize for triggering events. We have to be the ones that we just keep doing the same thing we've done for 7 months. We've spoken out against that stuff. When the left did it, I think this was a combination of some left insiders, but also some out of control folks. So we have to speak. We had to be consistent, and we've been consistently against violence, consistently for law enforcement, consistently for the thin blue line. I mean, that's who we are. That's who we'll continue to be going forward. Even though you're going to start seeing some things that you think make you want to turn on even law enforcement? Don't fall for those traps.
I'm going to spring something on you that we haven't talked about. So this is just an idea. I've been spitballing this with some other folks. There's a power that you and I have that people like us have, conservatives, middle-aged folks, older folks that we have.
Why did you point to me when you said older folks?
Well,
I just saw your hand go
a little gray.
I mean, I'm just.
You're younger than me, so I can't do that. You're younger than me by a decade, man. By the way, there's some pictures coming out that are a little bit embarrassing. I gotta say, yes, I did hold him off the ground in my arms like this. So you guys can demand those pictures later.
I thought those weren't getting out. Are we letting those?
Those are they're definitely going out. So here's the idea. So what we hold a power we've never exercised as conservatives. It's the power of consumerism. Right? And we don't like boycotts. We've never really done the boycott thing. And I don't really like it. I'm into free market and free enterprise. I'm coming to a different point.
Yeah.
Here's the point where I'm at. This is my statement to all you big commercial entities out there. We're coming for you. We have way more power than the left. We have way more power than the young people. If we stop buying your products, you're out of business.
Yeah.
You're going to hurt. We're going to hurt your bottom line. So this is my proposal. This is where we start, in my opinion. The Super Bowl is coming up. No conservative in America should watch the Super Bowl.
I agree.
Not one. There should not be one conservative American, not one Christian American, not one conservative values American that watches the Super Bowl. Do you know what will happen to their ratings? They will have no ratings.
Yeah.
Right. And you got all these companies that are acting all woke and they're buying ads. And I'm not after any company. I'm not after the NFL. That's not my point here. My point is to make a point, which is get the hell out of politics. Yeah. Right. I don't care what your politics are. I don't really care. I don't care if Apple's liberal or whatever, Google, be as liberal as you want. Go make billions of dollars. Quit trying to tell people like me and Rick and all the people who are watching what to do, how to live their lives, that we got to live your values. Get out of that stuff. If you don't, we're coming for you, and we're going to punish you with the power of our consumer value. We're way more powerful than the people that you're playing to. We haven't exercised this in the past. I'm going to push this hard. No conservative should watch the Super Bowl, and you watch what happens to the ratings.
I'm with you all the way on that. And the question that I immediately come to is, what are my options? So when you do have companies that continue to use their corporate dollars and corporate power, now even saying we're going to fire people or not hire people if you supported Trump in any way, that's how crazy it's getting. So if we do push back on that, do you think the market will create alternatives? Will we be able to provide computer companies, banking companies? I mean, because you look at the people that dominate in those spheres.
Email, banking, merchant account services, credit card processing, all of that.
Take time to get there, but do you think it will get there?
I think it is on the way. I think that's happening. I'm involved in a bunch of stuff. We're building something called the Stack to provide all of those levels of services, cloud to the ground. But I actually think there's an alternative along the way, which is I believe with our consumer power, we can back these companies up and back them off because they can't afford to pay this price. Their shareholders will not tolerate the paying of this price. We've never done this in a focused way. The Super Bowl is first. I'm going to try to get all of the talk show guys, everybody you and I know, all the pastors should be pushing this. Look at what the halftime shows have been at the Super Bowl. No self-respecting Christian should be watching the Super Bowl.
I've unplugged from that for so long. I can't. When is the Super Bowl? That's at the end of January?
It's in February or
early
sometime.
February?
Yeah, I don't know exactly. So none of us should watch that. But here's the next step, I would say. The next step is, and look, this is hard. I shop a lot on Amazon. A lot on Amazon.
I was going to ask you about this, but
no. So every day I'm getting packages from Amazon. So here's my deal. I'm not going to tell you that I'm going to quit Amazon. I'm not going to tell you should quit Amazon. I'm going to tell you maybe one of the next targets is no conservative buys anything on Amazon for a week. Just a week.
Yeah.
It's like giving up something for Lent or whatever. Right. Because we just have to demonstrate our muscle.
Right.
Like if you're going to make us do this, we're going to show you what it feels like when we do this.
Because, and for those that don't know, Amazon's role in all this so far has been the punishing of Parler. I mean, that's been the biggest that we've seen, right?
Yeah, so they just completely deplatformed Parler. I've been working with Parler behind. By the way, you hear Parler might not be back? Think again. They'll be back. They'll be back bigger and better than ever before, stronger than ever before. I know the people over there, Bongino. I know the money people behind it. I've been helping them get some stuff set up. They're going to be back.
Excellent.
And they are going to be a monster in the marketplace. When they come back, you got to be there. Don't go away from there. Super important that we support them because they're warriors willing to fight this fight. But I just think we need to start exercising our consumer power, and we're going to have to do some demos on this power.
Yeah.
It's not to say don't do that forever, don't shop here forever. We're just going to demonstrate this is what it's going to feel like to you if you're going to work against us in society. And again, I'm not asking you to be conservative. I'm not saying Apple or Amazon or Google. I don't care what their politics are. I don't care what their CEO believes. I don't care what their employees believe. Just leave us alone to live our lives.
Right.
Get out of politics. Get out of the social sphere. Sell us a good product.
Stop letting your employees, if you're not the one doing it, stop letting your employees punish our side. I mean, even Dinesh, she told me that when they did the Trump card thing, the movie, the DVDs, I mean, they literally held the DVDs at Amazon and wouldn't ship them until November 4th. Yeah, those kinds of things are what they're doing. I was thinking about this because as I was placing an order on Amazon, I was thinking I need another option. I want to buy from small businesses. I want to find either neutral or a conservative Amazon. And
Right.
so, is there a chance that we have people that will start a company like that?
I think people are starting companies like that, but I mean, it's super hard. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
talk
that's
about
huge.
competing with Amazon, worldwide delivery facilities, sourcing facilities. They're the best logistics company on earth.
Oh my gosh, they're incredible at
Right,
what they do.
super
Yeah.
hard to compete with that. So maybe over time, first we got to flex our consumer muscle and
Yeah.
just try to back them off of the line.
Let me give a consumer muscle example. Daily Wire. Go to dailywire.com today and subscribe. What is it? 20? I do the big one where you get the backstage pass. And
Yeah,
all
I
that.
do
think
the
it's
same
like
thing.
$20 a month or something like that. Anyway, do it. First of all, you get a Leftist Tears mug, which you normally see in our Front Porch Live, and I think you get 2 of them right now. But anyway, the new movie that they just came out with, Run, Hide, Fight. We watched it right here on this porch as it was debuted to the world the other night, and you watched it. Y'all watched it.
I watched it last night. I made a mistake. Patty and I watched it laying in bed. Like, I was so agitated by the end. There was no going to sleep. There was no, like, it's a thriller. It's really exciting. It's very well made. It has the right values, but it's not preachy.
No, not at all. Not at all. And it's intense. There's language, there's violence, all that good stuff. So it's not a kid's movie. Don't, in fact, our friend Jeremy Boring, the God King over at Daily Wire, I think he said 11 years old and up, younger than that, you shouldn't watch it for sure. And Reagan and Rhett sitting off camera here just did a review on it. Don't watch their review until you watch the movie. But once you watch the movie, go watch their review. It's actually funny and also, I think, really good about the movie. So that is a great way to start helping some of these conservative entities, because media, that's a whole other thing we could spend a whole night on. Entertainment, we've got to have the alternatives to Netflix and these people that are putting out the trash in our culture, and Daily Wire, I think, is at the forefront of that. So if you're not already subscribed to Daily Wire, definitely get subscribed to Daily Wire and watch the movie, because the movie is just, I mean, it is incredibly
I'm
good.
going to see it again for sure.
Yeah. All right. Any questions before we sign off?
There's a lot of very technical and specific questions about COS.
Okay.
I think we don't have a lot of time tonight to go into them. Let's save those till tomorrow.
Yeah, let's
So
just-
encourage everybody to come back tomorrow and we'll get into some details.
Definitely, and we could do a webinar one night, specifically for that, and we'll push that out to everybody. So for the technical questions on Convention Estates, go to the website conventionestates.com. We've got there's an app for that series coming out soon.
Yeah, and also, go to my Facebook Live tomorrow night. I do the battle cry on Sunday nights. Just go to conventionofstates.com on Facebook. So
Yeah.
Facebook.com/Convention of States. Sunday night, 7 p.m. Central. I'll do a Facebook Live. I'll take all your questions. I'll answer all of them.
Perfect. And I feel better. I was getting really self-conscious about the fact that I hadn't been kicked off Facebook yet. I was like, I'm not a true conservative anymore. I'm not a firebrand. My wife's been banned. 3 of my staff have been banned. Why not? What? Am I really that weak? But you haven't been banned either, so I feel better now. But now that we did this together, who knows?
And we're flying under the radar, so don't tell anybody.
Yeah, don't tell anybody here on Facebook. All right.
People also want to know where they can watch these Front Porch Lives, so remind them that the YouTube link I just posted in there, if they will go to the family channel, all the lives are on there.
So you can watch all of the Front Porch Lives at the Green Family YouTube channel. We're also uploading those to Rumble should we get banned from YouTube, so they'll be in both places, and we encourage you to actually use Rumble. And then same thing, we're looking for, we're going to be out there on all these different social media things to figure out what's going to work. And I'm thrilled Parler's coming back, because that seemed to be where everybody was headed. I know Gab is great, and I like the way they do their deal. Sounds like a great group that's doing it as well, but you can't hardly get on it right now. MeWe seems to be working okay. And it looked like Parler would basically be Twitter and MeWe or Gab would be Facebook. Is that a
something
fair?
like that. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
I would say that's close.
Okay, so just be ready. Make sure of all things that you're on both of our email lists, because then no matter what, even like in your case, you got to get off MailChimp. So far, we've been okay. Now, I did notice Gmail would not let people that we send emails to forward the emails. They were blocking that completely. It was weird. We could email to them, but they couldn't forward. So if you ran into that, know you're not the only one. But I did see a deal on our provider. I'm not even going to name our provider because I don't want people complaining to them and getting us shut down. But
yeah, also I'm at markmeckler.com. That's
what I was going to ask you for. Where can people get on your email
Just
list?
markmeckler.com is the place. That's kind of my most personal place. I'm posting there every single day. I'm pulling down stories. I'm interacting with folks at markmeckler.com all the time. That's the place to be. By the way, you can go there. You can be there. You can look at everything. If you want to participate, it's a donation. It's $5 a month or more. You can give more if you want. And then
well worth it.
That all goes to convention estates.
Excellent. Okay, last thing. Be encouraged. Be joyful. Don't give up. I'll say the same thing I said last week. I am Liam Neeson at this moment, and you are about to be taken. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are going to be in the White House. You're going to be taken, but we're coming for you. Freedom is going to win in the end. We're going to fight this fight. We're not going to give up, but we're going to do it right. We're going to do it peaceably. We're going to do what John Jay said. We're going to know our rights so that we perceive when they're violated, and then we're going to properly defend and assert them. That's what Convention of States is all about. That's what our Constitution classes are all about. Getting you to run for school board and city council and water district, that's what that's all about, is literally living out those rights. And you said it earlier, we've got to be realists. We got to realize, don't buy into all these conspiracy theories. And Donald Trump is not going to descend from a helicopter with a bazooka on his arm and save the day somehow. That is not happening, okay? The inauguration is coming. Biden and Harris are going to be in the White House. It's awful. It's going to be bad. There's going to be a lot of bad stuff come from the federal government. But it's also what I think will lead to us finally being able to have the great decoupling as you're talking about.
I'm with you. I'm 100% positive. Times are tough. I always say I want to live in tough times. I want to live in definitive times. I want to live in a time where I know that what I do really, really matters. I mean, you have a chance to be a hero right now. This is literally it. The country needs you. The country needs your involvement. So step up. We know the stories. You know the stories of the heroes in American history. Now you get a chance to be one. What an incredible time to be alive.
I can't add to that. That was great. God bless you guys. Thanks for joining us tonight. Mark, man, appreciate you. Hey, don't leave me hanging. We're on.
Just real quick, a couple people are asking if you get kicked off of Facebook where you're going to be starting to go live. Just that we're going to use Facebook as long as we can.
I honestly have not found a platform where we can do this, where we can go live. I'm sure it's out there. If somebody has a suggestion, please let me know.
I'll get you on Locals.
Okay.
You can do it on Locals.
Right,
that's
cool.
where markmeckler.com
That's what you do.
is.
Okay,
Yep.
cool.
Okay, so just to remind everybody, if it does get booted off Facebook, be
Yeah.
on the lookout. We'll let people
Do you have
know
rickgreen.com?
I do, yeah.
So we'll just get that up at Locals if we need to.
Cool. All right, so we'll still be around. God bless. See you guys. Thank you, man. That was fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.